I want to pay my respects to the Malarndirri people of the Kulin Nation on whose land we are meeting. Tonight, a battle at the ballot box as early voting opens in the Voice referendum and the big debate about a big Australia. Wesley?
It comes across as if we're trying to fill a void. And we miss the point that we're trying to do this to overcome Indigenous disadvantage.
Well, it's one of the reasons.
It's one of the reasons. As an Indigenous person, what I struggle with is that 2/3 of Indigenous people live in New South Wales and Victoria combined. 80% of Indigenous people, live pretty mainstream lives. We have horrible disadvantage. But we've talked tonight about the numbers in the House and in the Senate and the process. I struggle with that. We're not actually talking about overcoming disadvantage, and every jurisdiction in Australia has got an Indigenous Affairs department. Every department has got an Indigenous advisory function. Every big corporate has got, like a reconciliation action plan or something.
Sure, but this is about Indigenous Australians deciding who their representatives are. You were, when I first met you, you were an advisor to John Howard.
Yeah, well,
you were hand-picked as an Indigenous advisor, so you got to give him advice about Indigenous affairs. But
and here's the funny thing.
He chose you.
When I was on that council, we were asked by the then Secretary of Prime Minister and Cabinet, where do we want to be in 10 or 15 years? And we all said unanimously, not here, out of a job. What the Voice is going to do is going to lock disadvantage into the Constitution in perpetuity. And I really struggle with that as an Indigenous person.
You think it will do that?
If it's set up to make it so that we always have this way to express our issues. Personally, I think it would make more sense to fund need over race, and we could find other ways to value.
Indigeneity isn't race.
How is it not?
It's peoples who pre-existed colonisation.
You're going to have to explain. I'm sorry, I don't.
There are blonde and blue-eyed Indigenous people in the Arctic Circle.
We're not in the Arctic Circle.
It doesn't matter.
This is a constitutional alteration for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people.
Whether there were peoples who pre-existed colonisation by the British.
Yeah.
They were Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples.
They were. Yeah.
And it's a recognition of that historical truth.
Okay. So the races we're talking about are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander.
The recognition is not just about disadvantage, it's about our languages, our culture, our history.
But it's also about how mainstream we are and our contribution
art,
to the country.
of all of the good things we can contribute to the country. It's not just about disadvantage. I hope the day comes very quickly when we're over our disadvantage.
So we won't need a voice then?
And why would we not? We've got lots to contribute to the country of
we do that already.
That are positive.
We do that already.
It's just
we are very much
necessary.
a part of our national fabric.
Okay, so you clearly, wait, I just want to intervene. You have a different worldview about how to share that, right?
Yeah,
But you're saying that you think it locks in disadvantage. Noel, what I hear from you is that you're saying it doesn't lock in disadvantage, it deals with that and then it exists as what, like a, it's my words, is it like a cultural authority?
Well, no, it's a massive opportunity for the country. I hope the day comes when we actually are out of our disadvantage and our culture is a real contribution to the rest of the nation. We will still be Indigenous people then, though.
One thing that worries me, when the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander Commission was created, and in Victoria you had very low voter turnout, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
I don't remember the voter turnout.
Teens, nationally, high 20s, low 30s. It worries me that we're going to all this effort, a couple of $100 million on the referendum, and a lot of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people won't be participating. They're just getting on with their lives.
Well, we don't know that. We don't.
I think if you look at how urban and how young we are, if you look at how mainstream a lot of Indigenous people are, I think they're going to be focused on paying the mortgage, paying the rent, sending the kids to school.
Well, what's the case in the Northern Territory for you,
Thanks,
Senator?
PK. I feel very sad, actually, Wesley, to hear your words. I I think
it's my experience.
No, that's fine, and but it still makes me sad.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that in terms of the Northern Territory, when we, you know, just only last week, PK, hundreds and hundreds of people came out to vote. First Nations people across North-East Arnhem Land, the Tiwi Islands. You know, I was at Milingimbi. We had people in the Central Desert region all coming out to say yes, and they voted yes because they see this as a really important moment in our country's history, and yet our vote will only go towards the national overall vote. We won't be part of the double majority, but that has not stopped First Nations people from believing that this is such a significant moment for us together as all Australians. You know, John Howard, as Prime Minister, intervened so dramatically into the Northern Territory in 2007. People have forever remained traumatised by so many aspects of that piece of legislation, but no one was asked from the Northern Territory, certainly no Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander person, as to whether this would work for them. I was the local member for Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory. It was the most disempowering moment of my life, not only as a politician, but as a Yanyuwa Garawa woman standing in that parliament, knowing that I could do nothing. So this is an opportunity, Australians, our fellow Australians. Our people want to have that voice enshrined in the Constitution.
We'll keep this discussion going with the